Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over the rain event which we talked about yesterday, but we'll be giving you an update on everything that's changed in the past 24 hours. We're going to have some heavier rain, especially for the southern plains, and then it'll start to moderate out into the central plains, the Ohio Valley, and the northeast, where we're looking at probably just about an inch, maybe an inch and a half of rain. You also have a little bit of snow into the Rockies, but that's going to be high elevation snowfall, nothing in the lower elevations, and it'll also be quite chilly out in the west as well over the next few days. So let's get right into it, and let's start off with your current National Weather Service page. As you can see, for much of the eastern half of the country, we have barely anything going on. We have a few flood watches in Kansas and Colorado, and then a couple of freeze warnings in Nevada and eastern Idaho. We have a few red flag warnings in California, and a couple counties under a wind advisory in South Dakota. But again, not a lot going on in terms of watches and warnings as of right now. It looks like, and I will just point this out to you guys, that over the past few days we've seen a lot of models get under the agreement that sometime within the next 11 to 13 days, so within that time frame, we'll see some sort of bigger storm into this area. And again, very broad description just because we don't know a lot about it. As we get closer to that event, as we get within 6 or 5 days of that event, I'm planning on making a video on that if that sticks around. But again, just wanted to show that to you guys and just point that out, that it is a possibility, and that I might be making a video on that. But as of right now, way too early to really make any assumptions off of that. So yesterday we had a high temperature of 102 degrees in Cotilla, Texas, as well as Falcon Lake, Texas. Both of them, again, got up to 102 degrees. The low temperature was in Peter Sinks, Utah, which was only down to 21 degrees, which is actually quite warm compared to what they were just a few days ago, down into the teens. The highest rainfall report was in Leesville, Louisiana, where they got 3.53 inches, and there were no snowfall reports yesterday. So here's a look at the expected rainfall map. So the green colors are going to be where you're expecting the rainfall, and the darker greens are where you're dealing with heavier rainfall. So that would be an example over Kansas as of this frame. This would be by Thursday morning. So tomorrow morning we have this broad system over the southern plains. We have that low pressure down here, but it is spitting up some moisture from the Gulf of Mexico ahead of that. So that's why we have all of that going on in the central United States. And this is just going to continue to rotate through the central U.S. So we have these storms spreading on up. If you looked at the past few videos, besides yesterday's videos, that would be the one that we did on Monday, as well as the one that we did over the weekend, where we talked about the temperature patterns in the United States and southern Canada over the next couple of days. And you guys did notice that there was a big trough into the eastern or into the western United States, and also one into the eastern United States. And then we have a bit of a warmer surge of air associated with this system right here that was into the central plains as well as into south central Canada. And that's all because of the system. We have this storm bringing in some warmer air, and usually when you do have rain, especially in the winter time, it's going to warm things up. In the summertime, it usually cools things down. So it does have a way of kind of moderating the temperatures. When it's raining, you're usually not going to have one extreme or another, so it's very rare that you see rain while it's 100 degrees. It's also, it's not that rare in the winter, but it is fairly rare as well that you're down into the 30s and you're dealing with rain as well. Usually, most rain is going to happen when you're in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, or the 70s. So it's usually those middle in-between temperatures when you get that rain, and that's just the effect that rain has. It kind of cools down or warms up depending on what season you're in, and it just brings your temperature closer to normal for the most part. Here would be by Friday morning, and you can see that for the most part, with the exception of some of this rain up here, most of the thunderstorm activity will be centered around the southern plains. Good news for the Southwest, they'll get a little bit of rain out of this as well, so that should help them out. And also a little bit of snow up into the mountains of southern Colorado and northern New Mexico. If we move this on, this would be by Friday evening, and you can see that we have that rain spreading across the central United States. So you can see still raining, light to moderate at this point. We're not expecting anything that will be really too severe in one particular moment. So we're not expecting anything that's going to be super heavy at any one given point. But the continued persistent rainfall, especially over this area right here, will cause the potential for some excessive rainfall. So just because this storm is staying over one area for 3 or 4 days at a time, and that's going to be the main issue. It's not really going to be how intense the rainfall is, because we're not expecting it to be raining all that heavy. It should be mostly the longevity of the storm that really helps to bring in the threat of isolated flooding, but flooding potential is low for this event for the most part. Here to be by Saturday morning, and you can see finally it starts to rise up further to the north, so most of that rain into the Ozarks, the Central Plains, the Mid-Mississippi River Valley, so we're dealing with that rain into that area. Here to be by Saturday night, you can see this is going to continue to chug along further to the east. What we're seeing is that it is interacting with a northern system, which is up here, which will eventually dip down into the southern United States, and the southeast will actually get some rain out of that from that system that's going to dive down from Ontario, Canada into the southern United States, then curve back to the north, and then eventually move back out into northern Canada. Very interesting weather pattern, a very interesting track that system will be taking, but it's going to kind of dive down, bring in a little bit of rainfall, and then just kind of head out further to the east. So again, very intriguing, something you don't see all that often. It seems like it's been happening more and more in the past few weeks. I'm not sure why that's happening, but we have seen a lot of systems drop down from Canada, kind of just linger in the eastern U.S., and then eventually curve out into eastern Canada. Here to be by Sunday morning, and you can see finally this is starting to really get a move on. So now much of the Central Plains looking at a nice clear day for Sunday. For the most part, there might be some showers here and there. Here to be by Monday, and you can see that the rain is now mostly into the eastern third of the country, with most of that centered into the Tennessee and Ohio valleys, as well as some areas around Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. So that's where we're dealing with most of the rain. This would be by Sunday night, and then this would be by Monday morning of next week, so October 4th. And you can see that we're dealing with some lighter, moderate rainfall into the northeast. Yesterday, they were showing a heavier rainfall into the northeast and the mid-Atlantic. It wasn't really that heavy at all, but it was mainly 1 to 3 inches. But now it looks like we're looking at a maximum of 1.5 inches. So good news, it's not going to be as soggy as it was before, and that should actually be a bit of good news for those of you who want to go see some fall foliage, because even though it is a little bit delayed this year, we're expecting the vibrancy to be a little bit better and for it to last a little bit longer. So your chances to see some good fall color, especially in the northeast, even the Great Lakes as well, should be a little bit higher than normal, even if it's just coming a few days later. And that rainfall will help to make the colors a little bit more vibrant, especially in some of those areas that were a little bit drier in northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, and northern Maine. They were having some issues with getting some rainfall, and they actually had a little bit of a drought. But that should be cured by the end of this system, and that should help the trees get a little bit more color to them. So good news for those of you who want to go fall color seeking, especially in the Northeast and the Great Lakes. This would be by Monday evening into Tuesday morning, and you can see that we have rain spread across the eastern seaboard, but it's going to be fairly light to moderate across the board. We're not expecting anything crazy, and then it tapers off and it moves further to the east. So here's the total rainfall map for the United States over the next 6 days or 7 days, and you can see that in that green color, we're looking at 1/10 of an inch to 1/2 an inch. In the blues, 1/2 an inch to an inch, 1 to 2 inches in the yellow, 2 to 5 inches in the red colors. So you can see that we are dealing with especially for the southern plains, some heavier amounts of rain, where we're looking at maybe 2 or 3 inches. Again, no areas are really going to see that much in an individualized, localized spot. It's going to be more of a broad 1.5 to 3.5 inches of rain. As you get further to the northeast, it kind of just moderates out. You're not dealing with as much. We're seeing less and less of that rain as you get further north. So we're looking at maybe just about a 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a quarter for most of those spots. And then as you get into the northeast, excluding parts of northern New England, we're looking at maybe just an inch to half an inch at most in some of these spots, including northern New England. We could be dealing with maybe an inch to 2 inches in a few of those spots. And that's actually, again, good news, because that's the one area of the northeast which had some drier conditions this summer, which really didn't get the amount of rain that they needed. So it's coming right in time for the fall colors. So that's definitely good news. Should help the trees. Instead of turning into kind of just a brown color, they should turn into their usual orange, yellow, red colors this year. Here would be the upper air map, and this is going to be just something that I want to show you guys, because it will be an interesting setup, especially with that system diving in from central Canada. So you can see that we have a low pressure in the southwest. This would be by Thursday evening. So you can see that's going to move into the southern and central plains. It moves into, again, the central plains, but watch out for this little nick in the jet stream right here. So it's very hard to kind of label here on the screen, but it is this kind of inversion within those lines. That's an indication of a shortwave trough moving through Manitoba, Canada, and that'll be making its way further to the east. So this little blob right here, which isn't even really defined on this map, will eventually curve down into the upper Great Lakes, and that'll become what merges with this system right here as that moves further to the east as well. So here would be by Monday, and you can see here's that system which was up in Manitoba, and then you can still see that we have a little bit of a remnants of what was in Kansas and Missouri. So they're very close to each other by this point, and what this system is doing is just dragging this one further to the south. So that's going to drag it along, and they're eventually going to merge as we get into next week. So this would already be by Wednesday of next week, and you can see that we have a little intersection right here along the Mississippi River Valley, where we have that low pressure, and that area, and to the east of there especially, is where we'll deal with rain next week. And who knows, I might make a video on that. Depends on how much rain there's actually going to be, but it is an interesting setup. We really don't see that all that often, where you see one system from the southwest merge from another system which was very weak at the time moving through Canada. They eventually merge and then move to the south, and then eventually they would move up to the northeast again. It's a very unusual setup that we're seeing right here, but it has happened a couple times, even just this year, so it's not that crazy to see. So if you have any questions, leave a comment down below. If you want a personal forecast, leave a comment down below as well. If you have any weather photos that you want to send in, especially of the fall foliage that you guys are seeing right around this time, send them into the email address in the bottom of the description, and I'll be featuring you guys for the weather photo of the day if you want to. So send in your photos of any weather that you see. If you have any rain in the wintertime, if you have any snow right now, if you have any fall foliage pictures, send those in. Again, if you have any questions, just leave them down below, and I'll be responding within a few hours of you posting that, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.